Greetings, everyone. It looks like we are live. We have 8 viewers to start. That's very nice. And I encourage everybody watching to get all your family and friends in to listen to a bunch of weirdos talk about My Little Pony for an hour. I hope you're all doing well out there in the chat. So for those who may or may not be joining us for the first time today, here's what we're going to do. We're going to be talking about the Legion of Doom's future, and kind of speculating on what that might look like should it happen in, season 10 of the comics or a hypothetically animated series or something like that. The Legion of Doom is Cozy Glow, Queen Chrysalis, and Lord Tyrek, the characters that were turned into stone at the end of Friendship is Magic. So, and we're also going to discuss with each other which of those characters could possibly be redeemed in a believable sense. So joining me for this conversation is once again one of my most loyal supporters, DJ Skywalker. How are you doing today?
I'm sick, but I'm ready to talk.
Yeah, you don't sound sick, so good on you for toughing it out like that.
Thank you.
Yep, and also joining us today is Sazerlight, or Doughboy123X, if you're at all familiar with his YouTube channel. How are you doing today, Sazer?
I'm doing all right so far. Got decent amount of sleep, and it's snowing like crazy here.
Oh yeah, where are you, if I may ask?
In the Midwest, Wisconsin.
Okay, yeah. So they're gonna get snow. You're probably getting all that Great Lakes lake effect snow, aren't you?
That probably is the case.
Yeah, I grew up in Western New York, so I know all about that too. And then directly to my left in the picture there is another content creator, another My Little Pony analyst, one of my favorites while he was active, Dulcet Tone. How are you doing today?
Hello, I am Dulcet Tone. I apparently have been raised from the grave, because when Brony calls, one must answer.
Yeah, I can't tell you how many times I've collaborated with someone and then I happen to be their last Brony project or even last project altogether before they just stop making content. I feel like I'm killing all these people in the fandom. It's not my fault. I'm not doing it on purpose. But I'm very glad you could join us today. I was always a huge fan of your videos whenever you were making them. I hope to see more in the future. For those who are not familiar with Dulcet Tone, please check out his stuff. His link will be there in the description. So, these streams are made possible by my Patreon supporters. I'm incredibly grateful for all of them, especially the guys at the $10 and up tier. These guys are our friend DJ Skywalker right here, the Blue Pony, as well as Autoknight, Sodden, Girder, Senko, Jennan, Kellogg, Kyle Christensen, and the Equestrian City Heroverse series of FiMfictions. You can check out all that stuff in the description at your leisure. So with that all being said, pardon me while I clear that frog from my throat.
With that being said, hack and cough.
Yeah, with that being said, let's get into the meat and potatoes of it. So, in a hypothetical future, the Legion of Doom, Queen Chrysalis, Cozy Glow, and Tyrek somehow break out of their imprisonment similar to how Discord did it. What do we think would happen, and would that make a good story? Let's start with DJ.
Okay. Honestly, I do believe it would be a good story. Because there's still a lot to those characters that we don't know about. A lot of them is a lot of backstory that could be explored, or even if they're conscious in the stone prison that they're in, like Discord was.
That's certainly a question.
So, I'm not exactly sure how. There's so many different possibilities that story could go. It could lead to redemption. It could lead to being sealed in stone again. I just imagine so many different possibilities. The ones that always come to mind are the redemption arcs that My Little Pony is always famous for.
Or infamous
for. Depending on who you ask. So out of the 3, I think Cozy has the best chance to be reformed since she is still pretty young. I give a maybe to Tyrek, and a definite no to Chrysalis.
Okay. So then let's get some opinions from Sazerlight. What do you think?
Well, here's the thing. I have a similar view to what DJ just said. The only difference is that I probably would switch Cozy Glow and Tyrek around, because here's the thing: we don't know anything about Cozy Glow. She has no backstory. Like, and I'm still hanging on to the theory that I don't think she's a kid at all. I think she is just like a very small pony, just pretending to be a kid. Because what little kid can just think like this and do things like this with absolute clarity?
Have you ever met a sociopath?
I know there are rotten kids. I know that kids can do
early.
some really awful things. I know kids can do some really awful things, but something like either someone has truly manipulated her and twisted her to become like this, or again, no backstory. We don't know if her parents are even alive still, or if she even has parents.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, there are a lot of things you could do with that. Now, when it comes to Tyrek, bit of a fun fact here. I recently did a panel in Ponyville Starterfest this year, and I'm actually currently working on editing the recording for that, and I'll post it on YouTube hopefully soon. But in that panel, I mentioned Scorpan, and my theory was going to be that within the finale he would return and he would find some way to win Tyrek over to the good side, because I thought they were all going to get redeemed at the end, because the end of Frenemies really hints that the magic of friendship is capable of coming to them. They are able to see it.
Mm-hmm.
So I was wondering if Scorpion was to return, he would be a good motivator. He would be the greatest means to convince Tyrek to stop being evil. And on top of that, Tyrek, out of the three, is probably the most reasonable. He is the most logical. He's willing to go through deals. He's willing to think ahead. Whereas Cozy Glow, and especially Cozy Glow thinks ahead too, but Chrysalis is definitely just nuts. She's just lost it.
Yeah.
I mean, it would be interesting to see her, just fall so hard and eventually just have nowhere else to go but up. So that would be fun, and I do have to still wonder what her redeemed form would look like. But yeah, that's my basic thoughts on should they and could they be redeemed.
Well, that's interesting. Dulcet, what do you think?
Well, I think it would be a viable season-long arc. Like if they release themselves from Stone, let's just say that at the beginning they are completely blaming each other for all the mistakes that were made, and then they all split off into their own separate areas. I think that would make a really good episode. Give a lot of chance for a backstory.
Yeah, I can definitely see that.
Yeah, so there is story elements there. As for redemption specifically, I would actually think Chrysalis might have the most chance, with Tyrek coming in second place.
Just no hope for Cozy.
Well, not necessarily no hope for Cozy, but I think that if she is actually a child, she's going to have to do a lot more mental growing before she can realize, oh, this is not good. I really thought this wrong.
Yeah, I suppose that would be good. And as for me, I think that if they were to return, that they would definitely spend most of their time fighting with each other after that. I don't know if they would regroup. I don't even really think... it would be very hard to get a good story out of something like this, because they've already done the story and explored just about what you can do with this. In order to do it again, you would pretty much have to retread what you've already done. And off the top of my head, I can't think of any way to add to it, but I think if I had a couple of weeks, I might be able to think of a way to add to it. But it would be very contrived, and I don't think it would come out well, and it would negate everything that all of the characters worked for at the end of the series and everything that they learned. I also don't think it would be possible to happen because none of those characters work the same way Discord does, where he feeds off of specifically chaotic energy, and when people are arguing around him, that weakens the bonds that held him in place in to begin with. None of them work like that, so they're definitely, I don't believe they're nearly as susceptible to breaking free in the first place unless someone knew how to counteract that spell. But then why? Unless Discord gets bored or something like that and does it himself. So there's my opinion on whether or not it would be a good story. For the redemptions, I think Cozy Glow has the best chance, just because she's the youngest. And if supposedly, we're getting into headcanon with your theory, and it's an interesting headcanon. I'd love to see you make a video on it, but that's definitely headcanon. With Cozy Glow, if you look at that statue that they made after they got blasted, Cozy Glow was the only one with a repentant face. Chrysalis was trying to charge. Erick no longer wanted anything to do with what was going on. Cozy Glow is like grabbing at her cheeks and pulling her eye sockets down, just cannot even comprehend what is happening to her. So when she comes out of that's going to be a pretty hefty mental toll, and it's going to do one of two things. They're either going to reevaluate their situation entirely, or it's going to make all of them just go even crazier with rage and wanting some of that. So now that we've got our basic thoughts out of the way, what do you guys think of that? So I'm saying don't, like, even in a hypothetical sense, don't do it. There's no way it would come out right. And Cozy Glow would be the only one to stand a chance of getting any kind of redemption and living a normal life after that. So what do you guys think of that?
Well, I disagree that a lot of it would be contrived. I think there's multiple different ways that a story like that could be told.
All right.
As for like the breakout thing you brought up, you do bring up a good point that it would be a lot harder for them to break out, so it could require would that be a fourth party to do it?
Yeah, I think that would be the only even sort of plausible way to do it.
I do believe there's a chance, if the writing was told properly enough, it could be T-Rex is able to do it. Because they aren't technically inanimate objects to absorb the magic of it. And maybe Chrysalis, that one's a lot weaker than T-Rex, but
it's a different type.
Mm-hmm.
So the question between the two of them would come down to, is T-Rex able to absorb changeling magic?
Well, we proved that he can do that.
Yeah, that happened in Frenemies when he was trying to eat her magic, and did eat her magic.
Oh yeah, you're right. I remember that now. Thank you.
But I could see maybe Chrysalis, if they want to use Chrysalis as the catalyst, maybe feeding on her own rage for however how long they're trapped in stone, and eventually just using that to break free, or T-Rex slowly eating at the spell over the decades. The only one useless in that scenario is Cozy, but that's kind of natural for her.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, here's something. What if they are still conscious of each other and are arguing throughout their eternity, and then that rage just builds up to the point where the curse just explodes?
Oh,
that is a possibility, but
that's an interesting headcanon. I like that.
Yeah, that definitely is headcanon, because that is definitely headcanon, especially with Chrysalis, because nothing's ever indicated that she can feed off rage or anything. It's just love.
Yeah, but I mean, just from the sheer amount of rage that they have induced in dealing with them and in dealing with each other for so long, they've just had it so much with each other that they just blow the popsicle stand and just go their separate ways.
But that's only assuming that that's still assuming that they work in the same way that Discord work. Now with Discord,
of course,
yeah, with Discord it was plausible because that he's a being of chaos, so chaos around him is going to weaken those bonds. Unless chaos around, unless it does work the same way for Discord, and chaos around the statues will over time weaken the bond. So in 1,000 years, the statue's going to come alive, and Twilight's going to be the only one who knows what to do about it.
Tyrek did absorb his magic, so he might know a little bit about it.
Yeah.
Discord was also part of the spell, so you could also argue that maybe there's some chaos in there.
Yeah, that's true. A sidebar on that, I found it hilarious how Season 2 Discord goes, oh, I wouldn't know anything about that, Celestia, because I don't turn ponies into stone. And then at the end of the series, here I am, turning ponies to stone.
Huh.
But he just wanted to dig at them.
Yeah, I could imagine he would. There's Tyrek who was messing with him, and everybody else who was messing with Fluttershy, which I think he somehow cares even more about.
You could also argue that the spell might be weaker than what trapped Discord. Because this time it was Celestia, Luna, and Discord that performed the spell, when on Discord it was the powers of the elements of harmony.
Mm-hmm.
And even to the end of the season, they were saying the elements were the strongest magic in the land. So there's a chance that the spell is weaker than what trapped Discord.
Well, it's on one hand you do have a point. On the other hand, the elements were always just a symbol for the magic of friendship as a whole.
I know, but it's a story beat that could be used.
True. Now, of course, my headcanon is that if they were to ever be released, it would simply be they released them willingly in hopes of redeeming them, kind of like they did with Discord in Season 3.
I feel like that would be a real stretch considering what happened. But
well, how is it a stretch exactly?
Well, considering that they actually had to get armies of allies in order to defeat them in the first place.
Well, they needed armies of allies in order to distract them long enough.
In order to defeat them in their superpower forms.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but I mean, you wouldn't want to let them get to that point. With Discord, I mean, they were already he's at that level no matter what, at whatever point.
I mean, Twilight's going to have to put up with Discord for forever.
Which is highly unfortunate. What were you saying, Caesar?
No, nothing. I was just saying I totally agree that, now since they're both supposedly immortal, then she's just going to have to deal with him forever.
Mm-hmm.
Though granted, judging by what little we've seen in The Last Problem, I'm willing to bet he's at least... he's definitely not as volatile. He's not as willing to cause trouble. I think he's relaxed more. I'm willing to believe.
Fluttershy mellowed him out.
Well, no, we can't do that. When he went Mr. Rogers, you saw what happened.
That is true. That is a good point. Like, he always will be his silly self, but I don't think he'll do anything stupid or malicious.
Well, what happened to Discord in that episode is roughly the same thing that would happen to me if I stopped making puns. It's not necessarily, you can curb that to a certain degree, but you're definitely not going to be you if you're totally there. So he's definitely still a prankster. He might play a practical joke here and there, but he's going off to ogres and oubliettes tournaments. He knows what he's got his head on his shoulders now finally. Even if it's not always
with O and O, he has plenty of chaos to work with.
Oh yeah.
But so here's an idea for, let's say, after they get out. Mm-hmm. They all go their separate ways, and each of them has we finally get a bit of each of their backstories. But then during that point, they realize how much they missed being friends with the other two.
All right.
So that's not necessarily a retread. That's them realizing that the others actually had value in the partnership, and that their anger was not necessarily was like misdirected or something to that.
But I don't think they ever lost that in the first place. Like, they were all working together right up until the very end.
Right, but at this point, when they get out and they go their separate ways and fight about this whole thing, then they realize. Then they get the band back together at the end.
Oh, so you're still dealing with the with working with this concept as a season-long arc. Is that what I'm hearing?
Yeah.
Okay, so I suppose that would work. So what we're saying so far is, in order to get this concept to work, there would have to be a fourth party that releases them from that spell, and then we would have to turn it into a season-long arc, possibly giving them a lot of screen time to have their own developments and come back together. And then if we go along with what I think Dulcet is saying, in that learning that value, they see the value past the selfish means that they would have otherwise used it for previously. Is that what I'm hearing?
Yes. You also might be hearing a helicopter flying by.
Well, I'm not hearing that. I don't know about everybody else.
Well, I'm hoping that no one else hears it.
What'd you do this time, Dulcet? They're looking for you.
No, I've got an air base next to me.
Ah, yeah. So, which one of you said that Chrysalis was the most likely to be redeemed? Was it?
That was me.
That was you, Dulcet? I highly disagree there, because Chrysalis is an unhinged psychopath, and she's very, like, she hasn't been capable of logic since she got expelled from Canterlot. Like, it was very well calculated how she got in there, but I think she hit her head on the landing, if you know what I mean.
I would say more after the season 6 finale. She just lost it.
Yeah, that was definitely another major blow to really anybody's psyche. I mean, shoot, I freaked out like that the couple of times that I've lost all my friends in some freak accident or something like that. So how do you get out of that Chrysalis is more redeemable than Cozy Glow, who is the youngest, the smartest, and most likely has the most potential? How do you get that for Chrysalis over Cozy Glow?
Mainly because there is more around her. Like, the changelings as a species had this capability to transform this entire time, but was held back from doing so. So there has to be a reason behind the rage. The reason behind the aversion of sharing love and only keeping it and hoarding it. So I think there's something in the background in her personal life that has caused her to rule this way, and that needs to come to the forefront.
Well,
maybe having to spend some time with the other changelings.
If we consider the comics to be canon, we
really can't now, unfortunately, because of the way that they did it. But
well,
because they said changelings were born from the trees, but then we saw the hatcheries.
The what?
Yeah, I'm willing to say that the comics should not really be played too much of a.
I think I'm missing a detail here. Fill me in.
Remember when the Pharynx episode?
To a degree. I've actually only seen it twice, and my last viewing was a while ago. So fill me in here.
During the Pharynx episode, where they explained that he's Thorax's brother, they did a flashback to the hive and the hatchery.
Okay.
So that kind of contradicts the canon of the of the comics, where it said that they were hatched from trees.
Okay, so that I don't think that argument really makes a whole lot of sense because you and I are both humans, right? And we were both born live, conceived and born through the womb of our mothers. But was the first human like that? If we subscribe to the theory of evolution as it's taught, then the first humans didn't start off like that. What would eventually become the first human was born of an egg that eventually crawled out of the ocean to get different nutrients from the sun or from the plants that were growing on the land, something like that. So by the same token, when Chrysalis and the original changelings were born, they came out of that tree from a mixing of a whole bunch of magics. Now they're a different creature with different working biology, something more like a bug that lays eggs. You see what I'm getting at there?
Is this some sort of like the chicken or the egg kind of argument?
Yes, in a way. But what I'm saying is that the chicken and the egg are different, are completely different in this case. So just because she was the original changelings came from the trees does not mean that every changeling afterwards came from the trees. Once they emerged from the trees, they were something completely different, almost like a caterpillar turning into a butterfly. The mixing of all those different magics that made the changelings, and then they came out, and now they're this animal that lays eggs, or
Also remember that we also saw them being hatched from eggs in the season 6 episode. What was it called? To Change a Changeling. It's where Thorax was first introduced.
Right. And we've seen all that, but those were those changelings, and I'm talking about Chrysalis and the ones that originally popped out of the tree in the comics. I don't see a disconnect there.
I see.
Yeah, but ultimately what I'm getting through that is that what we saw in those comics is Chrysalis emerged with a bunch of other changelings, and she was just hungry and had this psychopathic instinct to just suck up everything that she could and hoard it and change into other people and subvert cultures and be a warlord when necessary. So I don't think she's ever I don't think it's not only in her nurture and the mental state that she's been in the back half of the series, but definitely not even in her nature. Whereas, since we're dealing with different changelings from then, once Thorax was able to set an example, the rest were able to follow of their own free will, which sometimes they did and sometimes they didn't. And as we saw, to change a changeling, Pharynx was the last to really join the ranks of the Reformed. So with all that being said, what do you guys think? Does that change our perception of Dulcet's argument that Chrysalis is the most redeemable? What do we think there? Come on, guys, don't give it to me that easy.
I don't know. I still don't think she is. I think maybe at an earlier point it may have been more likely. And to be fair, there have been a couple moments, like both in Frenemies and the season 6 finale. It is slightly hinted that she has considered, just turning good. But I think by this point, it will be the hardest to crack her.
Alrighty then. So
from what we've seen, I think I still disagree. I think Chrysalis is the one that can never be broken, because she's convinced herself completely that friendship is evil.
But in Frenemies, they didn't necessarily. She kind of started going back on that.
She did, but then she has now made the conscious choice to never let it take her.
Yeah, which they did at the end of Frenemies too. It's if anything, it changed from being an evil concept within her mind to being
The enemy.
not that. A tool. A tool that can be manipulated one way or another depending on the situation and the intentions of the wielder. But nobody who sees something like friendship as a tool is going to be able to comprehend using it for anything except a tool. Now, when she first came on, it was definitely seen as the enemy. Friendship was the enemy, and love was there to be consumed and hoarded and things like that. But frenemies taught her that friendship was a tool that could be used however she wanted to, as long as she had the ability to manipulate whoever she was using friendship for. What do you guys think about that?
I don't disagree.
Mm-hmm. So that kind of, once you get into that mentality, it's really not going to change. And especially with being Chrysalis as illogical as she is, I don't think she has the capacity for it. What do you think, Dulcet?
I think all changelings have the capacity for it, but they lack the will. But certain ones, like as you're saying, have a hardened will against it. And we've proven that with Pharynx.
Yep.
But as you said, the people who fall the hardest might have to climb their way back up. So, I mean, this could be the rock bottom that she's been hitting that could start that process.
Mm-hmm.
Well, in this case, literally rock bottom.
I think at this point she'd be willing to just keep on digging.
Well, I mean, eventually she's going to hit China or whatever. I guess the Eastern Unicorn lands.
Something like that. So
Equestria's flat.
Who had Tyrek? Who thought Tyrek was the most redeemable?
That was me. I think he is. I mean, Cozy Glow is a very close second, but I'm willing to slightly ink out Tyrek over it, because Cozy Glow, like, she is very smart, but she is very unremorseful. She really feels no qualms for her actions at all, and is fully willing to just backstab even her own comrades just to get power.
And
Tyrek, well, here's the thing. Tyrek, I think, is the most, I guess, for lack of a better word, wisest out of the three. Like, he knows what he's doing, and he even commented himself in Frenemies, as did all of them, that working together felt so much smarter than to continue fighting. And on top of that, he also has family that's still out there, who we never get to see. So there is someone who can reach to him potentially.
Does he have family? Because that was going to be my point against Tyrek. Is he's going to come out of that, and he was willing to throw away his whole family to try to get power 1,000 some odd years ago when he had family. How do we know centaurs live that long? Because he was out in Tartarus, which we seem to be assuming, or at least I'm assuming, is a dimension or area, a space outside of time. But
I'm going to disagree with you.
I think we would have seen Scorpan. I think if Scorpan was still around, he would have played a higher role in things involving Tyrek.
Yeah. Now here's the thing, and I know this is sort of moot at this point, and someone in the chat did mention this, that Scorpan was going to be in the movie, but that was ultimately scrapped.
Oh, really? Do you happen to know what he was going to do in the movie?
I think he was planning on being a villain.
I think he was going to have some involvement with the staff of Sacanis that the Storm King uses, I think. I'm not remembering all the details, but I do know this.
Okay, well, if you can tell me where you read that, I'd love to go read it myself and recommend it to everybody.
I think it was in the art book. I think it was in the art book for the movie.
It's the art book for the movie.
Okay, yeah. So we'll go. Now, unfortunately, I can't do that on stream, But we'll go check that out and see, because the question that's coming to my mind here is, why did he get cut? Because that's gonna, I think that, in my opinion, is going to lend a lot of, either lend to or take away a lot of credence to the theory that you're working on right now.
A number of things, even outside of Scorpion, were cut from the movie, and I assume that's to help it from being overly cluttered and help it stay focused.
Mm-hmm.
And also, considering that the movie is kind of self-contained, I think they might have tried to remove any too much referentials to
That's true too.
To side or distant canon. But going back to what you were saying before, Tartarus does have a time, because Tyrek was keeping track. If anything, time would be accelerated there because there was a lot of scratches.
They may feel time passing by. That doesn't mean that they're actually aging in there.
True. I'm not willing to... I think Tartarus really is just a magically enhanced cave. I don't think it's any form of purgatory.
All right, well, we're dealing entirely in headcanon now, and I called somebody out for that earlier, but this whole discussion is kind of centered on headcanon. It definitely is.
We don't know their future.
The theories I'm working on right now is that Tyrek would have absolutely zero reason to change anything, and not do anything aside from try again. It's either that, or he would come out of that stone with just being incredibly tired of fighting and not wanting to do it anymore, and just saying, forget this, I'm going home. I'm gonna, like my teacher in the comics did, I'm just gonna hang out in the cave for the rest of my life. I think that's the closest to redemption that Tyrek would ever get. So what do you think about that, Caesar?
Could you repeat that last point? I was copying a question here.
Oh yeah, that's all. I said the closest that I think Tyrek would get, because with the theories that I'm working on right now, and the assumptions that I'm making, is that Tyrek would have no family left, and certainly not any friends, and too much of a reputation. So he would either have no reason to calm down, and he would just go straight back into fighting, or there's a chance that he might be sick of fighting and then just go live in seclusion for the rest of his life.
Well, that is probably the most realistic. I guess the most realistic approach would be that he's just done. He just goes home and never returns.
Yeah,
like he
so
never.
I think that's the closest to a redemption that he would get.
Yeah, like in fact, I mean, I don't think any of them would. I don't know. Again, realistically speaking, I don't think any of them would want to live with the ponies in peace and happiness. I think they would all just leave them alone and just live their own lives. Because they probably feel like it's just not worth it anymore.
But does
that Tyrek probably is, because I think they would just feel it's just not worth it anymore.
But does that even count as redemption? You see, I would always define redemption as seeing the error of your ways and attempting to resolve the problems and seek forgiveness and try to do better in the world after you messed it up real bad.
The thing is, at that point, you could do it like a Hulk ending, where he's just walking down the street with his thumb out.
All right.
Where he's not necessarily he's the outcast, but he's actually doing some good in the world wherever he goes.
And then every episode he's in, he goes, "You wouldn't like me when I'm angry." And then somebody gets him angry, and he snaps and he sucks up all the magic in the town to fight whatever's fighting at the time.
And then someone inevitably asks, "Why do you have purple shorts?"
Yeah. Now here's the real question: if Tyrek wore shorts, if Tyrek wore pants,
don't even.
I'm glad that
I know where you're going with that. Don't even.
Would he wear them halfway up his body or just cover his hindquarters?
Or his front.
Or maybe his whole horse section needs pants. We need centaur pants. I have no idea.
Stop.
Somebody's so mad. All right. And then DJ, you and I both thought Cozy Glow was the one to be most likely redeemed, right? Or did you think somebody
going off the basis of her being young?
Okay, so let me ask the other two gentlemen in here, why not Cozy Glow? Like, convince me that I'm wrong about Cozy Glow.
Have you... Well, I mean, Brony, you've seen how school-age kids act.
Yeah, I've worked with school-age kids for on and off for a collective of, I think, like 5 years.
So you know how much of a riot they can be?
Yeah, I know.
So I would say that as she is right now, she's right in the middle of that.
Yeah.
So now, how many of those have come back later and realized how much of an idiot they were?
It happens.
Most grown people.
It happens, but it is few and far between. Like,
Okay.
my older brother's got a lot in common with Cozy Glow.
Yeah. But I would say that that as she is right now, with no backstory, no parents, no guidance, not likely.
Okay. And Caesar, what do you think?
Ooh. I'm still clinging to my headcanon, because she is just such an anomaly. There's no explanation for her character. She just naturally is that way. It is hard too, because on one hand, she already understands friendship. She knows what it is, and she's using it for evil.
The fact of the matter is, in the pony world, she's not wrong. Friendship is power. Just like love is a form of power.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's one of those corrupted truths types of things, and probably one of the most applicable things the Germans in the 1940s said was a lie that is half a truth is twice as dangerous, or something along those lines.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, that's what she's got going for her. So I said that Cozy is very similar in mentality, definitely not like personality or means or actions or anything like that, but in mentality is very similar to my older brother, who we all know I've had a great many problems with. Now, my older brother never did anything to fix that. He's always the one that's right, and the rest of the whole world is wrong, kind of thing. So, but there have been people that have turned around from Cozy Glow's position. So, I think it's the most possible for her.
I suppose. Again, like, I just barely ink Erick above her. She's a very close second.
All right.
Chrysalis is not a close third. She's pretty far down.
Yeah. But I'll tell you something this, though. We got to get Cozy Glow past the teenage years. Otherwise...
Yeah, someone just mentioned, like, what if Cozy Glow's hormones are in full swing? Like, okay,
geez.
that would be awful.
Well...
I mean, granted, I don't think her brain would work as well, though.
Yeah, well, I'm looking in the chat now, and I see what you're talking about. So, if I'm pronouncing this name correctly, when Red Dragon, one of us is in the other's head, and if it's you need to get out of my head, and if it's me, I'll politely see my way out and apologize. So all right, that's all I've got to say. Does anybody else have any thoughts they want to add to it, or should we get into the audience interaction?
I'm just gonna say this whole talk has given me a huge story idea that if I wrote any more, I probably would.
Hey, do it. I highly encourage it. I'm just keeping an eye on the chat right now, and I'm seeing some other people coming up with ideas for FiMfictions left and right, and I'd love to see all of them.
This was the creator's plan. So many fan fictions.
Yep, I am Cozy Glow. I thought that long ahead. My cutie mark should be a rook piece.
I mean, we could always come back to this is nothing to do with their future, but we could always go back. Everyone always, even to this day, I think, is still discussing whether or not Cozy Glow deserved to be turned to stone. I'm going to say yes, because she fully knew what she was doing.
Oh, yeah, she's a credible threat. She is that's what we saw at the end of Season 8. She is a credible threat. If left to her own devices, she will steal all of the magic in Equestria and create civil war.
And she's not just a dumb kid. She knows what she's doing. She is capable of manipulating other ponies to do her will. Granted, these other ponies, most of them are just straight up stupid, so it's not that hard. But yeah.
Well, to quote Silverquill from the Season 9 Brony's React finale, she attempted murder several times.
Yeah, that too. She tried to straight up kill them. She didn't care. So yeah, a lot of that.
The child defense kind of falls away when you're an attempted murderer.
All right.
Yeah, yeah.
So with that, let's get into the audience interaction segment. I've been copying down questions.
I was too. I have too, but I think you've done a better job than me because I think I've copied down too many.
Oh well, heck, we'll find out. But yeah, so if you've got questions, comments, concerns, anything of that nature, be sure to ask them. I will continue reading off what I've copied already. If someone, if one of my co-hosts wouldn't mind keeping an eye on the chat while we read through these for any more questions, that would be great. But let's get through what we've got already.
I'm keeping an eye on it.
Yeah. So, apologies in advance for everybody whose name I butcher. We're going to start with Kaza 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay. If the bell can absorb power, why didn't they steal the magic of friendship right there? What even stopped them from using it? Okay, so I'm going to take this one and then pass it off to my co-host here. The bell doesn't absorb esoteric magic, I think is what I'm going to call it. The magic of friendship makes things stronger. It's how the world works, but then it manifests itself into a physical energy. And as long as there is friendship, there will always be a replenishing source of that physical energy. That's not something that the bell can isolate and take over. What do you gentlemen think?
I have two on it. One, it's closer to emotion. So the bell hasn't been shown to be able to drain ponies' emotions. It just drains their powers. And two, we already saw in the finale that the magic can overwhelm the bell, so who's to say even if they tried it, it would have been able to do it.
Yeah.
Also, it could very well be that the magic of friendship is a newer existence than the bell.
That's interesting. Like the bell predates the pony tribes and Equestria as a whole. Is that what you're getting at?
Yes, because it existed from the time of Grogar before there were any of that.
Yep. All right, moving on here. Toad 256. If the Legion of Doom escape, I recommend heading to Griffinstone and heading east of the mountains. Okay, so I'm guessing he's just giving strategical advice to the Legion of Doom. Do we think that's good strategic advice? What do you guys think?
It's not the worst advice. It's not what I would want to see, but...
My question is, what good would that do in the first place? I mean, unless you're going to come back to Equestria with a literal army of dragons, griffins, hippogriffs, something like that, which is going to be really tough to do because they already have relations with Equestria. Does anybody have anything to add to this?
I mean, you could go south to the Badlands.
Well, yeah, it's essentially like an escaped convict here in the U.S. going to some desolate area in order to regain...
to escape justice?
Yeah, regain arms and everything. You don't immediately charge for the national capital. That's just suicide.
Didn't we already do that and his name was Che Guevara?
I don't know what you're referencing.
I get the reference, but no comment.
So I'm on the nose. Thank you, Dulcet. All right. Paladin Pony T. Do you guys think they were freed before the last problem? I think if they were freed before the last problem, we would have been dealing with them in the last problem. What do you guys think?
Well, interestingly enough, there's a stained glass window depicting the Student Six saving the world. So there's at least one story that's untold.
I'll have to go back and look at that. I didn't happen to catch that detail while I was watching.
We were all too busy being distracted by Flurry Heart.
I was too busy.
Yeah, it was at literally the stained glass window right next to it.
Yeah, I was too busy being distracted because I didn't even see Flurry Heart in that episode. I was too busy being distracted with depression. It was the last episode. That was all I could think that whole last episode. Let's see.
I'm certain they're probably still in stone.
Colin Brown says, could the baby be turned by a secret seed planted by Sombra while he had her? Oh, geez. Could we imagine an evil Flurry Heart? I mean, you know what? Never mind. Implying that she's not evil already. That's what I think. What do you guys think?
She's too pure.
Yeah.
There's too much hate on Flurry. She's too pure. She's too pure for bronies.
I am totally guilty. I wouldn't even dislike Flurry, but she's an alicorn. Why? That will haunt me for the rest of my life. It's just, why is she an alicorn?
Because genetics.
Genetics don't work that way.
Yes, they do.
All right. Let's see here.
Before you go on to the next question, a friend of mine, Nathan, has contacted me and explained to me what Scorpan was going to do in the movie.
Okay.
He was going to, so apparently Scorpan, who is now old at this point, got the Staff of Seconus first, but then Tempest stole it from him. Another idea was going to be that the Storm King would use the staff in order to demonstrate his powers in the Aramaspi territory, just to demonstrate it. And according to Rebecca Dart, who was the art director, says that the staff of Seconus was actually a piece of the Tree of Harmony.
All right, that's all pretty interesting. I just need to correct you on one thing, Caesar. We say Fizzle Pop Berry Twist in this house. I was hoping that would get somebody. All right. I think that's really interesting. I would have loved to see that movie. Colin Brown... No, wait. When Red Dragon says, was it the elements spirit bearers who turned them to stone? And if so, they just might be considered awake for quite a while, plotting their revenge. So, no, it was not the elements. It was Celestia, Luna, and Discord that turned them to stone. And we talked about that earlier in the stream of whether or not they might be conscious in that stone prison. We don't know, but the question kind of hinges on how similar to Discord they are, or if that spell affects everybody the same way. Colin Brown says, "What if Twilight goes evil?" I think Twilight going evil. Yeah, well, I think Twilight going evil would. Well, we're talking in hypotheticals here, but I think Twilight would get checked by Cadence and Shining Armor and the rest of her friends. And
Shining Armor's dead.
No,
you didn't see him at any point.
Well, that doesn't mean he wasn't there.
No. The only reason we don't see Shining Armor or Cadence or Celestia or Luna in the future is because they don't want to have to struggle to answer the question, do alicorns age? They don't want to answer that question.
I posted a link to the picture of the stained glass. Interesting thing about the third one there, that indicates that the elements of harmony were the ones that took out Chrysalis, Tirek, and Cozy Glow, not Celestia, Luna, and Discord. Possibly they did get released.
Interesting.
Well, the stained glass shows their defeat, not their imprisonment. Because technically the elements did defeat them.
The elements of past, present, and future. I don't know if anybody else caught that symbolism while they were watching that episode.
That was great symbolism.
Yeah, they had the pillars to the left, and the center was the main six, and then to the right was the student six. So you got past, present, and future right there.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so let's see here. Kaza 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8. Can non-YouTubers join the discussions? Okay, so here's how. I've said this before on other streams, but here's how this works, Kaza. If you want to come on the show, you got to get on my. Well, if you're an analyst and I like your content, I'll reach out to you and say, hey, would you like to come on the show? But whenever we do these streams, I pull from my Patreon server and ask if anybody would like to join the streams with us. Like we got Caesar Light and DJ Skywalker are supporters of mine, so they end up on the show all the time. So I'd love to have you on though, and you're always welcome, regardless of whether or not you're a patron, to submit ideas for discussions. You just got to email them to me, tweet them at me, or send them to my Twitter. But getting on the show is either I've got to reach out to you or you got to be on my Patreon. It's as little as $1 a month though, so consider that. Trent Jerome. Okay, yeah, Trent Jerome. Is any of this in the season 10 comics? We don't know yet.
Because they're still not
released.
Yeah,
they're not out yet.
They have not come out yet. Colin Brown says, are the ponies of Ponyville 100% good, or do they have evil potential? We've had episodes that show just how, for lack of a better term, please pardon me, dickish people in Ponyville and Canterlot and Manhattan can be. I think they're normal people, and all normal people have that duality and capacity for both good and evil.
I think Trixie and Starlight automatically prove that.
Yeah.
Yeah. And essentially anyone in Manhattan.
Yep, well, I grew up in Manhattan. I can attest to that personally. Let's see here. When Red Dragon says, if Cozy is a full-grown mare, that would probably be a big chance to why she is the way she is. The confusion of being called a filly. That might be why she became so manipulative. So she's kind of, when Red Dragon, he or she, however, is referring to, I think it was Caesar's headcanon, that Cozy Glow is a midget and not a
or if you really want to go really, really dark, has the same growth condition that Baby Doll did in Batman the Animated Series,
which is a real growth condition. There have been people born and I think are alive right now that have that problem, where they just don't age.
Yeah, that dwarfism and midgetism does definitely exist.
Mm-hmm. So let's see here. Leo Star. People have headcanon that changelings could feed off of more than love, but love is the best emotion. I disagree with that. I think if they could have fed off of more than love, they would have been an entirely different problem. What do you guys think?
I mean, it'd be good story potential.
I mean, I have my own disagreement. I have my own disagreement on that, considering that after the changelings changed, they started not needing to eat love at all.
Mm-hmm.
But beyond that, I would say that I have my own disagreements with how changelings work. So
I'm definitely not feeling that headcanon. Paladin Pony T says...
before you do that one, I went and quickly looked it up for those wondering. The Season 10 comics don't release until April of next year.
That's that late? Wow, okay.
Well, we got something to look forward to.
That and Pony... what's it called? What's that new show that just
Pony
got announced?
Life.
Pony Life.
You mean Pony Go?
Yeah, the last...
Essentially.
Pony
right.
4.5.
So let's see here. These next three will be really quick. The last one I have saved is Buck&5 was asking us if we've seen that trailer. I didn't watch that trailer. I'm not even sure I want to, given
more of a toy commercial than a trailer.
Yeah, I think it just might be, but I think everybody else here has seen it.
It's Funko Pops combined with bobbleheads, and then the animation is a cross between Teen Titans Go and Pony.Mov.
All right, I'm out. And just like that, you've lost me.
Calling them Funko is very, very generous. Those toys were hideous.
They're bobbleheads.
They're literally bobbleheads.
Why are bobbleheads making a comeback? I thought those died with 2006.
I thought they died in 1980s and then came back in 2006.
Holy frick. Well, I
zombies of zombies.
I just showed my age, and so did Dulcet. Paladin Pony T says, have any of us read the story Two Worlds by Piccolo Sky? Two Words by Piccolo Sky.
I did.
2 words. No. I rarely ever read fan fiction.
Did DJ say you did?
Yes, I did. It is actually a very good story based on what we're talking about here.
Tell us what it's about. I'll go look it up and
the basic premise
put it in the description.
is once every year or so, I want to say it was, Twilight releases the Legion of Doom, and they basically go through a parole process.
Oh.
But every year they fail. And I don't want to ruin the ending because 2 words is a very good title for it.
How close to Shawshank Redemption is it?
Not very.
Well, I'm going to have to read this, and I'm going to have to put it in the description after the stream is over. But yeah, everybody who likes reading FiMfictions now has a new suggestion. 2 Words by Piccolo Sky. And then Colin Brown says, the blue pony, I'm assuming he's referring to DJ, looks like a cross between Aeon and Finn.
I'm not sure how to take that, because Aeon disturbs me.
Yeah, he disturbs me too.
I don't get his shtick. If I were to ever just talk with him, just like, okay, why?
Yeah.
Why? I'd be like Johnny from Ed, Ed, Eddie. Why?
I would take that as a compliment because sometimes Finn's joyfulness disturbs me in the opposite direction, so it kind of balances out.
Oh no, the Finn part is perfectly complimental. Finn's a cinnamon roll.
Yeah.
I'll gladly take that compliment. It's the Aeon part that's screwing with me here.
All right, and I believe we've got time for one more question. Who's got a question for me? Has anybody seen anything in the chat?
I have a fun one.
Yeah.
Colin Brown asks, Brony, do you think you should teach at the new school? Friendship, I think, is what he's talking about.
What would I teach? And also, I'm not
well,
very.
Well, first of all, would you teach there at all?
I'm answering the question with a question. First of all, I'd have to know what I would teach. Secondly, I'm not very good at friendship in the first place, myself.
Friendship through the martial arts.
Possible? It certainly is possible. I mean, yeah.
Building bonds with those you strike.
I forgot who said this, but there was somebody who said there's 2 ways to get to know a man. You can either live with him for his entire life. You can either spend his entire life with him, or you can fight him once.
Yep, I've heard that.
Yep. So do we have any questions from somebody who has not had that? Aleximus Prime and Nathan and I all agree want to ask this question. Do you guys think the real Grogar is still out there? I'm willing to say yes. I'm willing to say yes too, and I wish he was. Yep.
I think there's a chance. I think it'd be a cool twist if he wasn't.
Mm-hmm. I mean, it's clear that he did exist at one point, so...
there's no other explanation for the bell.
Yeah. And
it did say it was his magic in the bell, so...
Mm-hmm.
Maybe when Discord retold the story of the bell, he was leaving out the part where whatever her name was that stole the bell stole his power too and then sealed it.
Yeah, I'm willing to bet this is what season 10 will be. Mm-hmm. Will have involved.
All we know is that it comes out in April.
Yeah, let's hope for it. It'd be really nice if G5 was also a continuation of G4. I think that'd be really cool.
It's supposed to be a bridging point. The next movie.
Supposedly, yeah, we'll have to see. I really want G5 to just be its own thing. I want every generation to just be its own thing. I want it to be a continuation because G4 was freaking perfect. Okay. I mean, it was good. It was really good. I wouldn't say perfect.
I'd freaking say perfect, but the
continuations have just fallen too out of style.
But the Power Rangers do it all the time. That's what I'm working my way towards here. Is the Power Rangers do it? Why can't we? We can probably do it better too.
Okay, fine. Do a continuation, but at the very least, have a new cast of characters. Don't just reuse the ones we already have.
Well, yeah, of course. It's otherwise, why are you rebooting in the first place? All right.
Yeah, like but do it like they're doing for Critical Role, where they exist. It's in the future. There's slight references to them, but it's still just a new area.
All right, so let's call it there. I'm gonna end with what Kristen Mash just said in the chat. My little Brony, punching things really hard is not actually magic, but it sounds fun to do.
That's you.
That's G5, and I voice every character.
You voice everyone.
I voice every character. I voice the princesses. I voice the kids. I voice people with really high squeaky voices, and I don't even just try to do any different voices. Everybody is just my voice.
And you also do the guards too.
Yeah, hell, there's no reason not to. Doing every character. All right, I think I'm gonna call it there. Thank you all so much for coming. We had a pretty good turnout today. We capped at about 31. Some very good questions from the chat. Thank you all so much for participating and listening, especially if you listened all the way through here. If you want to get in on these conversations, I would love to have you. I just need you to join up my Patreon for as little as $1 a month. There's a lot of other cool perks that I can try to do for you as well if you check that out. I'm grateful for every little bit of support that I get, especially the people that are on the $10 and up tiers. These are DJ Skywalker right there joining us for the conversation tonight, as well as Autoknight, Sodden, Girder, Senko, Jennan, Kellogg, Kyle Christensen, and the Equestrian City Heroverse series of FiMfictions. Be sure to check all of their stuff out in the description. Fellas, do we have any closing thoughts before we end for tonight? DJ?
There's always more to write.
Always more to write. I love it. Caesar, what do you say?
Goodbye?
All right, no closing thoughts. That works. Dulcet, it was great having you on tonight. What do you think?
I never knew that I wanted Flourish with wiggly arms, and I still don't.
All right, I dig it. Yeah, and I don't think it would work, but some of you here have given us some really good ideas that certainly have potential. So while I'm skeptical, I would be willing to check out something like this if it were to exist. All right, thank you so much to my co-host for coming out. Everybody say goodnight, and I will see you all on Saturday for Heather Blossom's Chaos and Crocheting live stream, where I read the chat. And I'll also be seeing you next Friday for the next Friday Night Fights. Have a good night, everyone. Say goodbye.
Good night, everybody.
Adios.